Alrighty, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm Ben. We're here with the 37th issue of the Grendel ongoing series for the 88th episode of our podcast. It's the 4th issue of Devil's Reign. I think it's my favorite issue of the run so far, Eli. What'd you do this week?
Oh, well, I guess you might be noticing what I am wearing. Perhaps you've seen these before. Oh, dropped my book. It's fine. I got this sweet mage jacket from my mom and dad, who seemed to get some help from a certain podcast co-host. It's pretty amazing. It fits like a glove, like a dream come true. It's great to have one of these. Will I ever wear it in public? Who knows? But I look forward to it sometime that it's appropriate. It feels great. It's hot as hell, but I'm excited. This is beautiful.
So what is the ideal temperature for you to be wearing that jacket? Can you wear it in 40-degree temperature?
I think 40 degrees. Yeah. Okay. Wow. There's a little tip-in tag here that says Mage TM and copyright 1987 Matt Wagner. High five sportswear.
All you need now is the Corvette.
I need a Corvette with the big Grendel eyes on the hood. That'd be sick. I've been dealing with some printing issues. I had not one, but two misprints of the Ghost Agents issue 2. One where the cover was trimmed too short and all the pages peeked out from the bottom, and one where there must have been some slippage, or actually, I think she found out that they trimmed the whole book too much now and cut off like whole sides. It's crazy. I didn't lose faith in my printer though, because they're doing a lot of work for me. They did 2 reprints with no extra charge, and I've got 550 wizards being printed with them, so I'm chill. I'm excited about just getting them in. I've been having this like little lull here between, but I've been working on it. I'm been making pins for Ghost Agents.
I know.
And so I've been working on that. I cleaned up my office. It feels really nice. I feel like there was something I wanted to grab to show. But anyway, I've just been working a lot.
They have like a commission or something like that came in, some new original art or something.
I didn't get that yet, but I will show that here. Xerxio Penalta. Look at this. It's absolutely insane. I came to him with this idea because his Surfer and his Galactus pieces are abso-freaking-lutely insane. And so I was just like, what if we did like Cosmic Grendel, who is now who's now the Herald of Galactus. Cosmic Grendel also, he uses all these tones, he scrapes them. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Y'all can see. I'm super excited about that. So it's just amazing. I love art. I love Grendel. I love comics and making them. What about you, Ben?
I'm good. I also love comics art and making. And I think that last week I was 11 pages into Oh Fuck Why #3 penciling. And I think yesterday I wrapped up the 21st page. Ooh. So I'm on good pace for penciling. But to be fair, as the book goes on, my layouts tend to get I'm in blur.
Oh geez,
you can't even see it. My layouts get like more and more like intense, so that they're really like more than rough and preliminary pencils, and I just shoot them with the iPad and then stretch and squash them to fit. And
cool.
The pencils seem to go faster. I've spent a lot of time this week thinking about staging. Now, this book has a letterer, and I usually do my own lettering before I draw anything, so that I know how to compose the image around the letters. And like my absolute nightmare and pet peeve is when the collaboration between a letterer and a line artist doesn't compose nicely. So what I'm thinking about doing is having the pencils lettered so that I can, if need be, resize the pencils digitally before I ink anything, because I don't want to. It makes no sense to me that like all comics, I believe, are like inked and colored and then lettered. And if there's a lot of lettering, then your art team could be doing 20% of their work that just gets covered by letters. Like it's just a literal waste of time. So I digress about that. I'm making good progress there. I think we were all saddened to hear about Neil Adams passing.
Right, just today. I did a quick Google search to see if he ever drew Grendel, but I couldn't find any proof. I'm like, dang, of all this time.
So we'll pour one out for old Neil. Do you have any favorite Neil Adams projects or pieces or anything like that?
I guess like I never really, I didn't really read much Neil Adams stuff. I mean, his Batman stuff, obviously, and we saw Matt post about it today. Some of the continuity comic stuff, I like how strange it got and some of the weird stuff there. I went to his store a couple times hoping he would be there, but I never saw him. I met him a few times at cons and stuff, but
the Krusty Bunker store.
The Krusty Bunker, yeah.
That's I believe named after the bullpen and continuity studios because the ink crust.
Yeah, they have a whole section too of like just all continuity.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. We are both of the age where the continuity stuff is like Neil's major impact on our lives. And what can we say about continuity?
Skate Man.
I wouldn't talk about. I think Skate Man might be Pacific. Bucky O'Hare is probably the coolest thing that came out, but also the Echoes of Future Past anthology is well worth checking out. There's a lot of really cool stuff. There's Torpedo stuff. There's early Bucky O'Hare. There's Arthur Soydum's painted whatever it is. There's all kinds of unique and really interesting like heavy metal style stuff.
The Superman versus Muhammad Ali. That was really cool. That's one of my dad's favorite books. He loves that one.
Well, Neil, thank you for 60 plus years of service in the name of entertaining us. Starting, I believe, as a teenager on the Ben Casey comic strip. Here's to you.
Cheers.
Is that enough? Can we Grendel now?
Let's Grendel.
That's good.
You ready to go fast and slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel. It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. Control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
Coolio, we are back. Sweet intro. Thanks again, Manus and the Lazarus Disc for that sweet intro. Let's get into it. Killer cover here. Yeah. We've got with the Birdman of Grendel Traz over here.
And this is some guy who maintains the roofs.
Yes,
at Grendel's palace. Some poor vampire
whose job it is. He's like, Pellin's like, do you like shoveling up bird shit all day? He's like, yeah, kind of. He's got his like little buddy that comes down. He like suckles a little blood and he flies away. He's got a little.
Well, the rooftop is a motif. The meetings on the rooftop is a motif. But you know what this reminded me of was Evan and Argent chilling out on the roof at the end of Silverback for some reason.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, because we have the parallel where, Pellin is now the wolf and stuff. So
right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, great. Let's get into this. I honestly do think this is the best, easiest flowing, most digestible, most like narrative, self-contained issue of the arc so far. Really
the highest like personal stakes, the most like going on kind of stuff, and as they say on one page, like this one event will change the world forever, and it does.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do the log line this episode, of this issue, is that Orion goes on the beginning of a goodwill tour to Africa, the only nation on Earth that has nukes, and he's trying to just continue now. And Sherri Kniff is kidnapped, and they spend the entire issue dealing with that, because the stakes are if you don't dissolve now, we're going to kill Sherri Kniff.
Right, exactly. And there's like intrigue and spy stuff that goes on along through it, but it starts off here. I mean, he feels welcomed, and he makes this rousing speech trying to make him not seen so much as this like Grendel Kahn, but to be seen as like someone who has empathy and who is able to lead, and not lead this like all encompassing world domination power machine.
He resents the Grendel Kahn title, that he
finds it derisive and mocking.
He wants to take a more goodwill and peaceful approach, and
we know when monarchs tour these other nations, they just love it. If you've ever watched The Crown,
I have.
Keyword here, they love it, but they don't. They hate it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Bernie's rendering on these bulging cylindrical columns.
Oh yeah,
in the
beautiful
Madagascar spot. Really, really nice work.
Painting the clouds, even the like yellow, the like blue and yellow, the like yellow, almost like chalk looking stuff here on what's his name? Nicholas Abidi and shout out Bernie. I did chat with him this week. He says he's almost done the Jam collection, so keep your eyes peeled for that, ladies and gentlemen. He said I could quote him, so that's coming out. All right, next page. He's getting a rounding applause. Sherri has to leave for a telephone call, but then after everything's done and they're getting ready to leave, she's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it's clear by the end of the page that she is. It's at this point, it's got to be kidnapping. Look at that beautiful, dramatic, double lighting Grendel image. Oh, do you see the skull in the clouds? I didn't even see that.
Oh my God, yes.
Spooky.
A lot of these little hidden things, and then the one right above it of Orion 2's got those Bernieisms we talk about, the spirals and the stuff, super Bernie.
Yeah, the tension. Yeah, I was like, why isn't his smile cracking? It's because the background is doing all the emotional work. Very, very nice.
Raised indeed. All right, next page. Damn it, Nicholas. Go ahead.
The subtext is that the giant militia force is just like waiting there to like they're chomping at the bit to fuck shit up.
Yeah, for something to do, for some problems. All right, so next page they're trying to like figure it out, and Fadi's like, dude, like chill. And they receive initial contact from the kidnappers. They're like,
we have your wife. Await orders. She will not be harmed as long as you follow all of our demands.
Yeah, they think it's I think initially the thought is that it's African nationalists who have like splintered off of the government and are resentful of you now and all that. So,
and Orion's like, give me back my wife. Is that a dated reference? Yes.
Is that like from a Liam Neeson movie? Or
no, it's even before that. It's Mel Gibson. Give me back my son. Mel Gibson, who is in perfect light these days. We love him. Us Jews.
Great story.
Kidding.
Did you see Apocalypto?
I didn't see that.
It's fantastic.
Is it good?
There's a lot of. It's very. It's like a lot of silent storytelling. It's super epic. It's really clear. Like there's a lot of just like very clear action sequences and emotional beats. Like it's too bad he's such a raging asshole. He's a phenomenal storyteller.
Damn it. All All right, well, so they continue. The transmission was pirate cast into the private frequencies there at the Sun House, not to be confused with Sun House, the 1920s blues singer.
Okay.
I made that joke already, but it's worth repeating because
you love Sun.
Because I like it. I like saying it. I do like Sun House. Classic. He started it all.
I'm on 4, and let's talk about the reemergence of Manny.
Manny's never been the same since the
cocaine incident.
He's like shaking. Yeah, he's not walking.
He doesn't, and so his capacity is more just like an advisor,
right? And he's like empathic more now. Like he can get feelings, but he can't like read your mind. Right, exactly. Like the Betazoids are empathic.
Just like
they're not.
Just like the Beta. Is that from Futurama?
No, that's from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Counselor Deanna Troi is a Betazoid.
Oh,
yes.
I had no.
I guess she's the empath.
I guess that's why. So Bernie does something unique in this issue for Manny, and it's that the tattoo is done with, it looks like color pencil, and so he gets a nice little value scale going back to the head. So
it's like a mood tattoo, like when he's like weakened. Oh, so maybe it's showing that like his skin even is like drying. He's like dried up. He's not as healthy looking. He's.
I think it's lighting.
It might be lighting.
Because you look at the lighting on the back of his jaw. All right.
Yeah, he never fully recovered, and like Orion's worried about him, and he's like worried about Sherri, and he's like but he's still got all these duties, and he's not like keeping them up. He can't get the TPS report in on time and stuff.
Right. He must unite. He must unite the world, and in the background, while distracted by all this stuff, first of all, Fadi is stepping up to the plate as always. Good on you, Fadi. And Grendel's palace in Vegas is a mess. We'll get more on that later.
Exactly. I like how they wind it in. We see it from both sides this time, really. Yeah. It almost is like the two stories are growing further and further together. And it might even be that last issue they like totally clash.
They come together.
Interesting. If that happens, I can't remember if it does, but again, Matt is genius.
Yeah, well,
good story.
Helen is really, really focused on what's going on. As these issues go by, he becomes more and more focused on what Orion is doing and just how much he wants to destabilize and fuck with Orion and become his own kind of Grendel Kahn. A really interesting thing happens. The way that the vampires become, oppressed, interned people is like, it's almost like the Palestinian plight in a lot of ways.
He even calls them pogroms, like in the.
They become more and more empathetic as the story goes on, because they just like, can't we just live? But it's almost like so much for the tolerant left. Like, oh, I thought you were tolerant of all people. What of Nazis? You don't tolerate Nazis? No. That's what I thought about.
We punch them, yeah. It continues here. They're doing more research. They like have questioned all the boats and cars and everything and planes going in and out of Africa, not ever since that it happened. And they don't have any proof that she was taken out of Africa. So they're like, she's still in Africa. And Orion's like, all right, Grendels, I know you're chomping at the bit. Suit up.
I think they're stationed in Madagascar because they're like, well, we have an ongoing security issue. Like, why wouldn't we have our own military presence?
Right.
Because you're not helping us. So
yeah. Prepare the troops for the desert missions.
Okay. It says here, I love this bird's eye view of him tortured in bed.
Right.
And
tossing
it
and turning
says
all
that
night.
this is the most, he is more emotionally turbulent in this time than he was when his sisters died.
Right. It's crazy. Because I don't know. I guess the Sherri relationship was more earned in a way, whereas his sisters were kind of just like always there, always a support thing that he took almost for granted.
He took it for granted, yeah.
Yeah.
And also the like, the taking down the church is sort of like the beginning. It's really like his call to adventure. It's not unifying the world. It's like dealing with this one enemy who's like in Denver, and now he's got the weight, like the literal weight of the entire world on his shoulders. I like this when Fadi calls him up, it rings, and then these like three little like Usagi splinter gi dots next to the ring, and then there's another one next to his head, which I enjoyed. Very, very subtle stuff.
Right. And what the call is saying is that there's like a dude, I called him an emissary, that is going to be coming in to the Sun House, who's going to be like delivering their wants, delivering all this stuff. And it's like, why can't he just, vid chat in? Why can't he just zoom over there, like zoom in? But they send someone in, and they say they're looking at all the clouds and the skies, everything's on monitor, and one like little propeller prop thing comes up, is like, and he comes in, and they're like, okay, they got him. He lands, and
it like hovers while he has his meeting.
Right, it like drops him off, and then just like hovers in the sky.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting here, and they reference it maybe 3 times in the issue, is that the kidnappers refer to Sherri as his queen, which the text puts in quotation marks. I guess Orion doesn't feel that way. He doesn't feel like a king. They call him the Khan, but he doesn't even like it. Right. And I think it's saying that the world sees them as imperialists.
Right. But they don't, but on the inside they don't feel like it, because he's trying to toss that down.
They're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Right. Right. He thinks.
All
right. So the guy comes in. He's like, I got this cassette tape from your queen. What a fierce woman she is, So they have a message from Sherri, and they demand that like now dissolves itself and returns like all the power to the Native Nations, to like disperse the power back, pull out of Australia, and like just be done. Like
just dissolve. Yeah. That it goes back to being the initial 6 like North American systems.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
Raised in need, raised indeed. All right, so then they're like, all right, here comes the spy drama, here comes all this stuff. Like, they have detailed scans of this emissary. They like did everything they could. They tracked the copter to like 600 miles off the Pacific coast, where it abruptly swang low. They think he like dropped out, was picked up by a sub, but they got all these scans. They're like, he's like was wearing a colander on his head. He's got a small radio that only had enough range to reach a copter. The tape. Yeah. They tracked his teeth and fingerprints, and they saw that he ate McDonald's and he had a tapeworm or something. No, he had a cyanide capsule in his teeth.
Yeah, that's very Dune.
Very, even like Hydra and shit too. In Captain America, he goes, Hail Hydra. All right, so then they got his teeth. They find him. They find he's an African radical named Ali Ben Rancor Jones. Rancor, love it. Rancor Jones. That's just like a cool name right there. That's like a basketball player from the Moss Eisley team. All right, so they're like, are you ready to go send in other undercover men to Madagascar? Psyched. He's like, all right, let's not do too much. Let's just get surveillance people in there. Let's pump as many undercovers as possible into that island. I want as many irons in the fire.
I was very confused by advance your front as far as the Mississippi, then wait. Is there another Mississippi in Madagascar? I was very confused by that.
Yeah, that geography doesn't really make sense, I think.
I mean, I think it's also like,
maybe it's like because you can take it down to the coast, and then
remember last issue they were playing all these war games.
Yeah.
That like, I think that what they're talking about is that even the advancements that we're making, the troop advancements, like if we move people from Los Angeles to the Midwest, like that still makes us a show of power.
Yeah.
Because the militia, I think it's because the militia is so big that any movement will track on the enemy's radar.
It does show the Mississippi River comes out in the Gulf of Mexico. So it could be like move all your troops to this river where we can then move to like boat travel, and travel through the Gulf of Mexico.
There you go.
Over around Florida too.
There you go. All right, so I'm on 8, and this is probably the most interesting development in Fadi's arc in 30 issues.
Yeah.
Which is that she gives herself to sexually comfort Orion, and that the intimacy that he requires sort of balances him out. And this is a theme that we've seen throughout the entire saga, where people grow and blossom and become themselves through sexual comfort.
Right. Through a motherly figure, someone maybe even who grows into a motherly figure. But then it's also it's strange timing in my mind. Like, your wife is, I guess not, well, your wife is kidnapped, you're listening to her tape message, and then you immediately have sex with someone else. But
it's not a betrayal. They do address this later on,
right?
I think it's that he is such a, because the Grendel urge is upon him, he's such a beast of torrented, seething potential that it's the entire book is about the balance between aggression and compassion. and that she sees an administrative need to balance him out through this show of compassion.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like also too, this is however many years in the future, 500, couple hundred. Is it, how far in the future?
It's like 25, 34, something like that.
Okay, yeah. So about
the story's been going. Devil's Reign at this point is 14 years.
Okay.
Going on.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a different sense of sexuality and relationship at this point, 500 years in the future. It's like, for us to put our sexual foibles and qualms on these people doesn't make sense, because it's like, this is 500 years later. Our relationship's the same, our marriage is the same, it's doubtful.
Well, with the sisters, it talked and Matt talked a lot about the aristocracy needing to keep it in the family because they're so guarded about everything.
And there was a pandemic too.
Right. He is, that's right. He is beyond aristocracy. He is one of the top, he's in the top 3 most powerful people on the planet.
Right. Exactly.
So, okay.
Cool. All right. Next. So actually awesome for Fadi on this. Awesome for them to kind of, and it's kind of like they were working so closely together, and their lives were, already 90% intertwined, and this just made them 100%.
25 years.
Exactly. Yeah. For
so
a long time, since when he was just starting out.
And I think the question that we asked of Fadi was what is her role? What is her personality besides unblinking loyalty and professional competence?
Right.
And this is the development. Okay.
Right. In showing that she, does everything for him in a way,
Mm-hmm. So they're dealing with the kidnappers again. I think that they've got, I'm not sure what the top is about, but the rest of the page introduces this guy, Berlinetti, who's a Orion's sword. He's the guy in charge of the internment camp with the vampires. And I think we are supposed to understand that there are a couple thousand vampires.
Seems like almost all of the, just round up everyone they could in there. There's Grendel's /COP, because they call them cops later, but there's people, it's cops monitoring the whole thing.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
And I think, he says there was a riot yesterday, and a riot. He says you can do whatever you need to do to deal with them. I do not have the bandwidth to give them an ounce of compassion.
Yeah, I don't even care. I give you my personal nod to use whatever measures are necessary. So.
Yeah.
Right on the next page, they're continuing to develop things. They're thinking more and more, and like Orion's starting to believe the African government is to blame for all this stuff, and like he's having these nightmares of Sherri and different people smashing through windows and having all this torture. So
yeah, I think that's him
getting crazy. Fury. It's what? That's him as Nick Fury there.
Yeah,
he's smashing in. Yeah, that's cool.
I loved that. As I read this, because of the coloring, I was like, oh, this is a dream. And then the next panel I was like, oh yeah, it is a dream.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Good job, Bernie.
Well done, Bernie.
Yeah, and so it's again like he's starting to put the pieces together. Like he thinks this was like an inside job. They were never wanted peace. Africa's plans, Orion assumed, were to limit his power and so assure an eventual hemispheric conquest that would rival his own. Like, so he's thinking that they're like, they have, these nukes. They don't need us. They don't need anyone. They're trying to take it. So, all right.
So here's the plan: is that they're gonna bring Manny. They're gonna bring him back in with the psychic powers. He's gonna put on his own Vince Clarko hat. And
suck him dry.
What they're going to do is they're going to, I don't know why they need to do this telepathically. They're going to send a message that's only going to broadcast to Africa that says, yes, the world news is in. You now has dissolved. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is going to continue to get regular news, and it's going to keep the African nationals and the African government is going to be like caught off guard because we got what we wanted,
right? And they're going to take actions like they're showing their hand, basically. Orion makes the he calls the bluff. He makes a bluff, and they take it and shows their hand pretty much wholeheartedly. And all right, so Fadi's like, we got action. Jones just made a local call to a number he's never called from his home. Okay, so and Jones again. Wait. Who's Jones? That's
that's the guy. That's the
that's Nicholas Abidi is the
Jones is the emissary.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh yeah. Rancor Jones. All right, so he calls him. He's never called before, and the trace is through. He's in a car. Boom! It coincides with the trace. We got him. All right, and then right as all that's happening, Orion gets his call from Nicholas Abidi, the head of Africa. This is like all really, really fun spy drama, who's playing who type shit. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So he calls Commander Smith. You have your coordinates. How long for the troops? 20 minutes for the missile base, just over an hour. And he's like, proceed as planned. Fadi, send him over. And we're like, we're keeping it going.
Yeah. So they take they drive these UNOW tanks through the irradiated Sahara. It says before that UNOW has a base in the Sahara. Remember we were in there before because that's where that's where the half-life nukes are.
That's right. Last issue we saw him like pull up in there. Yeah.
No, in God and the Devil, the Helen.
Well, yeah. But last issue, I think on the last page we see some tanks pull up. I can't remember.
I don't remember. So there's tanks that are like fucking around in the Sahara, and then there's airships that zoom their asses into Madagascar, and the idea is that the military force of Orion's sword, even though the Africans have nukes, they're like, we're here surrounding your gates. If you do not want to die, you're going to send out Sherri Kniff.
That's right.
And in 1 minute they do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we see Orion here really with his like, mad Dr. Evil kind of like, puppet master kind of look here.
It's Hunter Rose pose.
Oh my God, you're absolutely correct.
Very, very Hunter.
Absolutely. That is 100% Hunter. We've seen him like that numerous times. All right. So, and then, now the TV's coming out like in an unprecedented breach of diplomacy. UNOW forces invaded Africa. And, at this time, damages are unknown that Madagascar is completely occupied by enemy troops. And it's like, this was a swift, concise action. they were caught completely off guard, can't do shit. Sherry's released.
Sherry's released, and he's wearing his Orion sword armband. It almost looks like an Omega with the Grendel face inside of it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it talks about the family, his inner circle, his family being restored, and Manny sort of is on the outside. You know, they're all in this menage a trois, and Manny's like in his wheelchair. What does he get out of it?
Yeah, he's got this floating Professor X chair.
Nicholas Abidi was killed in the raid, and the new leader of Africa pledges to this insult will be returned tenfold upon you now.
Right. Abidi was killed in the raids. Yeah, perfectly clear. I intend to return this insult with more of the same. Japan's like, well, you know, we have been, such has always been the aggressive politics of the Imperial West. We can only say that we are not surprised. And Australia is just like, dang, dude, I wish they would have said something to us. Yeah. He's like, and China's just like, stay out of it.
They want to be isolated. Yeah, they want to continue being isolated. Yep. And then Oscar Berlinetta. Yeah, he did a great job quelling the riots. Okay.
And we'll see later. And then on this final page of the Orion side story here, we see them as similarly posed as he was with his sisters, and them saying like, this feels right. This feels nice. Like, you know, I assumed that as soon as I was gone, that Fadi would fill in anyway.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
that's what you needed. Yeah, they believe in what he's doing. And then they also reflect that, like, shit, we should have done this sooner. Like, think of the unity that we could have had all the sooner. Now the final twist at the end is that, like, they go through they basically find out that the Japanese made the kidnapping happen. That Rancor's people, or whoever it was, Rancor Jones, they were paid in yen.
Right.
The enemy's still out there.
Africa really didn't know anything about it. Japan was working with a splinter cell in Africa, which means our enemy is still out there. Pum pum pum.
This was probably the tightest.
Yeah, that was
the
awesome.
Tightest, most like self-contained of the stories
so far. All right, Tales from the Underground, Jailhouse Rock. This one is.
So another nod to Elvis Aaron. Mm-hmm. Over and over and over again, the symbol of Elvis Presley is raised and reminded, and I think in his own way, Elvis had a little bit of the Grendel urge onto him to rise and become the king. Okay, great.
Yep. And we see now we learn kind of in the end that it's actually Kirch, his voice, that is narrating this issue.
Yeah.
As he's saying, it's funny and complicated. You know, Caesar's is now a full prison.
Yeah, the last issue opened up with the crazy barbed wire. This is the laser wire, and
right now there's laser fences. These floating double.
They're really oppressive. You know, they have all this money. They can't spend money on giving us more, you know, methadone blood. They spend the money on laser fences.
Like, of course, like, you know, instead, exactly what you just said. On the next page, then they're like, that's where he says, like, I thought the pogroms were over, but we were supposed to be maintained in the camp. No, it is more and more turning into this like absolute prison with terrible things. And we pull up to the Birdman of Caesar's here.
I love Bernie does a great job.
He really does. Yeah.
I love these rooftops where the bounding line is only on the roof, and then it's just two different tones of blue and purple dividing each other vertically. Really nice. All right.
And so we see the Birdman, as I was saying. He says, "Come, Gray Wing." His buddy comes down. He suckles him off a little bit. Thanks so much. His life does have some perks here. He's got these friends, he's buddies. He kind of cleans up there. He's happy. He's happy with it. It seems like, you know.
Well,
but people like
the real perks is Pellencross, because he gets to come and go as he pleases, as we saw last issue. Comes in through these secret hatches, and he's got this real like revolutionary joie de vivre about him the entire issue.
And he's like coming out of the sewer, and they're like, sir, would you like your coat? And you've heard about Granoff, I'm sure, you know, how she was kidnapped, I think, at this point. And he's like, dude, we can't take this anymore. And he gets on his Jumbotron, and he addresses his people. Yep. Children of night, who among you will run with the hunt? Jim Morrison. Anyway, yeah. So he's telling everyone, again, killer work by Bernie and Tim on all this stuff. Again, Tim really is set free on these pages, it seems like, and we really see, you know, his badassery.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, y'all, we have to break free. It's time. We need the rush of real blood in our throats. How can we let them do this to us any longer? I say we can't. I did read the Kamiko hype page, and we have Shelley Bond, née Roberg, in here. She talks about really cool. She's writing letters to artists she never hears back, and it's probably because she didn't send a self-addressed stamped envelope, like you should send a self-addressed stamped envelope when you send in your stuff to be published or to be judged by us. And we get the Grendel mask ad again.
Did you get any new info on the Grendel mask?
Oh my God, yes. I wanted to shout out a bunch of peeps on that. Yeah, okay, so here we are. I made a post in the Matt Wagner's Grendel Facebook group. Tons of responses. I just want to shout out a few people. Jeff Douglas posted that there's one for sale right now on eBay for, you guessed it, $700. Jeez Louise. That's too much for me, man. I can't do it.
You don't
if it was around 125, Jeff's saying he would do it. Agreed. It's insane. Russ Askew, he says he has one. And we were talking like, I wonder, can you see out of it? What's going on? He said, the vision is not super clear. Argent could definitely get the drop on me. He said, that's okay. David Spray says, I never brought myself to buy one because I couldn't see the situation when I actually wear it. I'm kind of surprised the collector in me didn't get it anyways, because I'm kind of a completist. I'd agree. If I was in the 80s there, I think I would have sent in for this. Eddie Wright says, you can see, but not clearly. Tommy Vernali is probably like, he's like, I probably got one, but you know, you got to figure that. Pitzer, again, we dropped the photo in. He's like, search the group for my photo in it. He's got one and he wears it all the time. He said,
he wears it all the time.
I don't know. Fred Warner, shout out him. He's got one, but it's still new and in the box.
Wow.
Ronnie Calejo has got this cool thing. He posted a commish he got from Matt back in the 90s. Says, I think I still have mine. I saw Matt in the late 90s and told him I have the masks, and it looks like a tennis racket cover. When laid flat, he laughed, gave him a 5-second gave him a 5-second sketch, and said his fits. If you put it on, you definitely have to find a way to pull it from the back to make it fit properly, right? Dan Boyer said, I had one 25-ish years ago and was taken from me in my many moves. That sucks. Trevor Green does not remember this. And James Doe says, I have one somewhere. I'll have to take a look. It fits skin tight. It's not too hard to see through it if he remembers correctly. The tails come right out of the top of the head, which honestly looks super weird. That's funny. I mean, it is really up here. That's insane.
That's the best part of information that we got out of it.
I know.
The tails come right up.
That's great. So shout out everyone who responded.
Last week I was making fun of how rippled it looked.
Right.
And then, Matt posted the cover to Omnibus 2, where Christine has the mask pulled up and there's great ripples as the fabric folds. So I really felt like a heel for saying that. All right.
What if Matt, he has one and he, took photos with, something real on like that, just to get some ideas on how that thing would actually lay, perhaps? Who knows? Anyway, we're back.
Just fine. All right. So this is the Birdman of Grendel's Palace. He's listening in the dorms, in the hotel rooms, to this address, and his younger female vampire roommates are all about it, and he can't do it. He's too his body doesn't work that way anymore. Yeah. They leave him alone.
He's too damn fragile.
Yeah,
she says.
The riot goes on very briefly. When they get to the front door, they turn on the sprinklers. My favorite part of this page is the plume of smoke that Tim and Bernie came together very nicely on.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, and then came the guards coming in. They stormed the gates, lock the gates. They stormed the gates, and they got their flamethrowers, and they capture Kirch, and he's being interrogated by Berlinet.
This is just like BLS's interrogation from COP.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I ain't telling you shit, copper. He doesn't want to talk, and he won't bruise. So they're like, bring out the sun gun. Huh?
They know that the top tier vampire guys, Pellin's inner circle, has been conditioned that water won't hurt them. So
right, they become water strong. But he says sun always fucked him up.
You want to know how Bernie does this sun over here?
Do I want to know? Yeah,
I will tell you how. This is my guess. All right, you start with that yellow, pure yellow, and then the spots of yellow that you put liquid frisket over that. Keep it wet, and then there's that carmine red from the edges. It bleeds in. Once that dries, you rub off the frisket. Voila.
Voila.
Voila. 3 layers.
Beautiful. That panel is amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and he's like dripping out of his nose in silhouette. And very it's got that kind of like Todd McFarlane kind of glasses.
I was even thinking of Sean from Mage too. Sometimes gets those glasses
for sure.
like that.
For sure.
All right, so then his name is Homer, the Birdman of Caesars. He's up on the roof. He's just like, dude, I'm going about my job. These are my friends up here. I work. I have my schedule, my routine.
You know what we didn't realize is that there's a new letterer. No more whatever the guy's name was.
And lettering by Kurt Hathaway.
Kurt Hathaway is doing this lettering
instead of Bob Pinaha, huh?
And he opens up with this new font for like the robot voice of the guy getting through the lock to get up to the roof where he meets Pellin.
And that's when Pellin's like, tell me, friend, you sweeping up pigeon shit, just fate for creature. Is it a just fate for creatures such as us? Again, Pellin is so much like, we are the dominant creatures of this planet. Here on this,
we are the chosen people, and yet they oppress us at every turn.
I didn't understand what this panel was, panel 5, like what he was doing, but it looks like he's like shaking out his coat or something like that, or putting his coat over the thing so he can address him.
I thought maybe he was putting his coat over the camera, but it looks like he takes off his coat and then he puts his coat back on. It is
well, no, I think you're right. I think he puts it over the camera. He comes down to the ground to talk to him because the camera watches him do his work. And then after he's done talking with him, he jumps back up there, grabs his coat.
I would say every Tales from the Underground so far has had at least 1 or 2 things that were really confusing. And if this is the most confusing bit of this issue, then I would call it very successful.
Agreed. All right, so he's bowing before him, saying, yes, my lord, as we turn the page, and he says, and so, my friend, carry that message with you. Like, is Homer really the one, the like message man you want? Does he talk to anyone except for his roommates?
I think that who's to say? But after the riot, security increases, and so do these like cool and unusual Gitmo kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the sun lamps go off for 5 minutes every hour, and basically everyone has horrible cramps and diarrhea.
Yeah, it's kind of Brave New Worldy. It's like discipline in progress. Please stand by. It's this.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I like this. I think Bernie does a phenomenal job here. There's once we finish this ongoing, Bernie's going to come back in War Child, and it doesn't look like this.
Right. He's also a multi-talented guy who can do a lot of different styles, I think.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
On the next page, we see Pellin and Kirch back in their office. It's fortified last week. They're kind of like, if only we all had bird totems like Zebra. And then you see the Birdman, and you're like, what even is he doing? And now we see why. I think Pellin planted this idea in his thing.
That
he sends all his birds to the fences and blasts them, and the fence is down. You know, it shorts him out. All this.
Well, that seems unplanned because Palin is suddenly like, "Oh, hey, the fence is down. You sure?" And so then he sends out another quick memo, and he's like, "Go, go, go! Let's GTFO." The fence is
Okay.
down.
So maybe he he inspired this guy so much, Homer, who's someone who never took action, didn't engage in the riots, probably had never met the first one, but then in the first one's presence, he gets emboldened and empowered, and so now he's like,
I feel like
fly my
this
pretties.
Homer arc is maybe missing one or two beats,
a little bit of backstory, and then a little bit of
this is him turning into a pigeon in panel 4.
Is it? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
So
I think
in essence,
maybe,
he suicide bombs. He gives his life to the cause.
I think so.
Okay.
It's hard to say. I think that's what's happening now.
I think you might be right.
Okay.
I think you're right.
This panel with the brickwork of Pelin getting the fuck out of there while Berlin, what's his name? Berlinetti
chases after him.
Come back here, you bastard. You're my goddamn retirement.
Yeah.
And, I love that line.
It's again showing how the cops are just, they're still phoning it in. These guys, they're still not like lifers like we see Grendel's in the future. How they're like, it's more of like Hell's Angels where they like live it and breathe it, and they never want out.
Well, the benefits are great, but you gotta do your job. Anyway, this panel with the brickwork is phenomenal. Really love it.
I kind of had a laugh when I was reading this last panel. You see the spent bullet casings flying in the air. For a second, it looked like curlers in his hair, and I was like, "Wait a second, they can't be curlers." It's not. These white splotches in the gun barrel, killer work by Bernie on that. Another beautiful concert with Tim and Bernie. Bam, bam, bam.
Well, on 24, panel 1 is probably one of the best
beautiful,
panels
absolutely,
that they've done together so far. So this is the totems, the wolf and like panther or like mountain lion totem of Kirsch and Pelin, and they're sort of counting their losses, and it's like they are an oppressed people going for revenge, and they say, we lost X, we got 130 out, thousands still remain interned, and what do they say? Well, one day we'll get their night will come.
But for now, time to round up those we do have, and then let's see about finding something else to eat.
We'll eat rattlesnakes and prairie dogs.
All right, they think they have our people locked away forever, thrown away the key. How foolish of them. Grendel 38, the ultimate sacrifice.
I love the empathy reversal that this goes for. Really cool.
Yeah, you love these ads, man. You're digging them.
Well, they tell you what you're supposed to. They tell you about the mindset of what to expect. I like a story that tells me what I should be looking for, so that I can invest my attention on the author's intent instead of bouncing all over the place and not knowing what's going on. And I think that if you're not, I think that's not the problem, but that is an issue that exists with this book, which is hard to get into, is that there's a lot of little clues that are just like they're not in the omnibuses.
Right. These little like the ads and stuff. And here's the hype page for the next issue. Grendel 38. With the world perched on the edge of global war, Orion finds himself locked in a power play with the commander-in-chief of his military forces, the bloodthirsty General Berlinetta. Ooh, General Berlinetta. With the death toll rising and the public losing faith in its once charismatic leader, the Grendel Kahn is forced to put the devil in drive, even while the life of his beloved Sherri hangs precariously in the balance. Meanwhile, the vampire uprising continues as Pelin Cross sends out his disciples into the nation, and the vampire king becomes the new messiah. This issue's tales of a dark future are written by Matt Wagner, illustrated by Tim Sale, lettered by Kurt Hathaway, hand-painted by Bernie Moreau, and edited by Diana Schutz.
Wow, you really went for it.
I went for it. In a world.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Good-ish, man.
I've never ever seen 38, 39, or 40, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, good issue. You know what I noticed is I think that some of the little insets on the cover seem to have shifted over a little bit. There's
one's cut off.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe there's shifts a little bit. Yeah, good issue. Probably the most like narratively dynamic of the arc so far.
I would agree. Yeah, really cool. Great job to all involved. This is a chilling cover for sure. This face, you know, this will probably be the album art like that. Well done.
I do wish that Homer had a few more beats just to kind of dive a little bit deeper.
Agreed.
Okay.
But well done. Well done. Another great ish. Anything else, Ben?
I have to go to sleep.
All right. Until next week. Vivat Grendel.
On Grendling.
Pew pew.
On Grendling.